Hey everyone, Steve here from My Crypto World. Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be looking at the market, where it's headed, what's happened over the last fortnight, and we're also going to cover off three stories. One of where Bitcoin might be in about 5 to 6 years' time. We'll also be looking at a story that covers off some big buying happening with SHIBA Inu, and after that we're going to be looking at a coin that could outperform Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many other altcoins. All that right after this. Okay everyone, let's have a look at our chart of the total market cap. So just a reminder, we're not looking at any one particular coin here, although the total market cap does reflect, if you look at the shape of the chart, it does reflect very closely how Bitcoin itself works or moves, because Bitcoin is so much of the market cap itself. But to get a better picture of things, you're always better off going to the total market cap to see where the sentiment is in the market. Now, we are almost through our next cycle. We're coming up to our 31 days. The current cycle finishes on the 23rd of March. So today's been the 19th of March. You know, there's another 4 days of this cycle left. And pretty much it's done nothing but move sideways. Now, that's not a bad thing either. Sometimes we need markets to sort of level out a little bit before moving off in the direction that we'd like to see it, which is obviously up. In fact, the market pretty much has gone sideways since around about January. Hasn't done a lot. It has moved up and down within this this range here, but really it ultimately hasn't done a great deal. Now, the good thing for investors in the crypto market is that the market actually hasn't dropped past the $1.484 trillion mark. Now, I've been talking about that point, which is the blue line on your screen, for many months now, how important it is for the market to remain above that level. And I've also spoken about how the next resistance levels being 1.75 trillion, which is your orange mark, and then your next one at 1.866 trillion is pretty important areas for the market to break through before we get to see some strength back in the market. Now, at the moment, the range that the market is traveling in is getting shorter and shorter, and that's a very positive thing. In fact, the longer the market moves sideways, the more bullish I am on the total market direction longer term. So that's quite good. We can kind of get a small pennant pattern happening here. If we just draw that down there, and one here. That's not quite right because that's broken through, but something like that. Now, before anyone gets too critical of my pennant, I do have some rules about pennants in place. You can have a breakout below it. There, some people who are diehard, straight pennant or flag forming patterns, they are very particular about whether it breaks through or not, or if it's allowed to break through while it's moving sideways. Some people actually say that if the pennant is broken, so you can see here that this green bar broke below the pennant shape, what was that, on the 24th? No, I don't know what date that is. 24th of February. They would call that an inconsistent pattern or an inconsistent pennant. For me, that doesn't make a difference. As long as it didn't close below it, which it didn't, it closed well up here, I'm okay with that. So there is a short-term pennant pattern happening here, and there's actually even, we could almost get a longer-term one if we just connected that there, and then probably maybe even from down here upwards. So there are pennant shapes happening. So for me, again, it's not we're not in a bullish run at the moment. It is literally a consolidation period, a sideways movement. But what we want to see is this range getting narrower and narrower. I suspect that over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see the market probably move just between the 1.75 trillion and 1.86 trillion dollar marks for a while before we get a breakout on either side. Hopefully it's to the upside. We certainly don't want to see that drop below where we're at the moment. So not bullish, not bearish, but just sideways. So it's a waiting game. Now let's have a look at some. Okay, so the first news story is how much $100 worth of Bitcoin would be worth in 2030, and this article is quoting Cathie Wood, who's the CEO of ARK Funds. And what she says here is that we are very optimistic about Bitcoin in particular, Wood said last year, giving the crypto a price target of $400,000. The bull case, so her reasoning behind that, comes from more institutional interest in buying Bitcoin. Wood highlighted that companies like Tesla, Block and MicroStrategy have added Bitcoin to their balance sheets. And we've spoken about this in the past, how the massive institutions out there that will eventually adopt Bitcoin as part of their portfolio, that will ultimately push the price up because it'll become a much more needed or wanted asset for everyone's books. What's the reason not to diversify? Wood asks. If all corporations put 1 to 10% of their cash balance into Bitcoin, the valuation of the coin would rise significantly and could increase the price target further for the coin. Later in 2021, Wood and ARK Funds stated it's discussing a $500,000 price target for Bitcoin over the next 5 years. So that was in 2021. So really we're looking at a 2026 price target of $500,000 per coin. ARK analyst wrote in the report that Bitcoin's market capitalization could increase 25-fold in the next decade to 28.5 trillion. The call for gain, along with gaining share value versus gold, helps highlight a $1 million price target by 2030 from ARK Funds. So, there's a lot of people out in the market at the moment who think they've missed the boat when it comes to investing in particular into Bitcoin because it is so expensive at the moment. But just remember, you don't have to invest in one whole Bitcoin. You could buy 0.000001 of a Bitcoin if that's all you could afford at the time. But it ultimately looks like it's going to rise significantly, according to Cathie Wood anyway. On to another news story is Shiba Inu. Now, a Shiba Inu whale has bought 440 billion Shiba tokens for 11.9 million as Shiba enters the top 100 purchased tokens by 1,000 biggest Ethereum wallets. So the article just goes on to say that whales are actively buying Shiba Inu and FTX tokens. Both coins are the top favourites of the whales, and in a case of any dip, the top Ethereum wallets try to accumulate large quantities of these coins. Recently, the biggest Ethereum whale, Lite, purchased over 49 billion Shiba Inu tokens worth a total of 1.21 million. So it just goes to show you that there are people out there who are ready to snap up as much Shiba as they possibly can, obviously they're holding for the long term. Excluding Ethereum, Shiba is the second largest holding of the top 1,000 Ethereum wallets. The biggest 1,000 ETH wallets hold 1.5 billion worth of Shiba tokens that represent a 17% of top wallets holding. The priority of the whales is the FTX token. FTX represents a 19% portfolio of the biggest 1K ETH wallets holding 1.65 billion of the coin. So a lot of buying going on out there in the market at the moment. It's interesting to see what happens and where people put their money. Certainly when the market, as I said just a little earlier, is moving sideways and there's not much happening. People are really looking for different areas to invest in while the rest of the market's down. So it doesn't surprise me that there are people out there snapping up loads of loads of Shiba Inu at this point in time. Now, our last story for the day has to relate around Terra Luna. We spoke about Terra Luna probably, it'll have to be on maybe 18 months ago, something like that, where I said that it was going to be a coin that should be watched very carefully. You could invest a bit of money in that if you wanted. Again, just my investment opinion, not investment advice. So the article goes on to say there's two articles I want to cover off with Terra Luna. A price surge in Terra's Luna token over the past week has made it the second largest staked asset among all cryptocurrencies in terms of total value staked, according to data source. Luna surpassed Ether, which has just had over 28 billion staked in value at the time of writing this article. Data from Stake and Reward shows over 30 billion worth of Luna is now staked directly on various platforms, representing a majority of the token's $34 billion market capitalizations. Participants are earning over 6.98% in annual yields. Some 41% of all eligible tokens are staked, the data shows. Cross-chain protocol Orion.money holds over 2 billion in staked Luna, the largest among all staking applications that support Luna. Its 43,000 stakers generate nearly 7% in yields. So we'll have a look at the Terra Luna chart in a moment. Luna is one of 2 tokens issued by Terra, a blockchain protocol that uses dollar-pegged stablecoin UST to build a global payment system. And Luna was among the best performing cryptocurrencies in the past 2 years, with nearly 76,130% price rise since its low of 12 cents on March the 18th, 2020. And finally, again, with Luna, this article here, one Ethereum competitor is set to dramatically outperform Bitcoin alt markets, according to a popular crypto trader. And it just goes on to say that Luna once again is a good example of why you shouldn't short this type of coin typically. It's going to be way stronger than everything else on both the up and down moves for Bitcoin. There are way better coins to short than this, in my investment opinion. At the time of writing, Terra Luna is one of the best performing crypto assets, currently up 25% in the last 24 hours. And he goes to quote, Bitcoin, I'm still mostly doing nothing until we see a break of these 2 levels. Still higher lows and lower highs. Good day today, but nothing changed in my eyes. The longer this stays in this area, the more bullish it is in my investment opinion. Again, this is what it goes back to what I was saying earlier. The more the market moves sideways, the longer that sideways movement happens, the more bullish I am about the breakout that will happen. Now, if we go to the chart of Luna, let me find it here. So actually, let's just go back to our total market cap. And we can see that we're pretty much, as we discussed, we're going sideways, and we have been going sideways for a while. Prior to that, though, the whole market, as we know, has fallen quite a bit. But when you compare that to Luna, it's actually gone in the other direction. So while the market's been dropping and going sideways, Luna has been going through the roof. It's recently broken its all-time high. The previous all-time high, it's not far off the all-time high at the moment. What was the high? $103. It's recently hit $104. So pretty close. Now, some people would call that close to a double top. It doesn't have to be exact, in my opinion. It may come back down and retrace, is what my thoughts are. But it's certainly, if the whole market's going down and this thing's going up, it's worth getting into, in my investment opinion. So it might be one for you to consider for your portfolio. Remember again, its current price is around about $87. I know for some people that's still a lot of money to invest in. Remember, you don't have to buy one whole Luna coin. You can buy half a Luna coin or a quarter of a Luna coin, whatever suits your budget. Whatever suits your budget. Well, that's it for this week. I trust you'll have an awesome week ahead of you. Take care of yourself and each other, and we'll speak to you in the next video during the week. Cheers.